There we go. Welcome back to the Badass Reset Club. This is an exciting day. We have in our presence a really dynamic woman. Her name is Steph Hilfer, and Steph is the creative director and owner of Viim. And she's going to tell us all about what she does, what that means. But I want to tell you a little bit more about Steph. If you want to create something like out of thin air, Steph is your girl. She can visualize what doesn't yet exist. How cool is that? And bring it to life, just like she did with Viim. With a background in psychology, Steph is a master at understanding people's relationships with brands. So while Steph may sometimes live in the clouds, surrounded by creative thoughts, she's grounded in solid business strategy that creates a competitive edge to all brands lucky enough to experience her Midas touch. That's a pretty epic way to walk into the room, Steph. Welcome to the podcast. I'm really super happy that you're here. And please do tell us, because people are probably like, what's Viim? Is that her last name? No. Tell us what Viim means.
Yes, well, thank you so much for having me. When it came to naming my business, I knew, and we're going to dive into this, but I knew what we did and who we are and what my business is. I was like, this is a huge task at hand. It has to be epic. I was like, I can't be a creative agency and be in this space and not have a killer name. So I put so much pressure on our business name. And Viim stands for Visual Intentional Integrated Marketing.
Nice.
But Viim is also a play on the English word Vim. If you're like, well, I don't know that word, let me rephrase it as Vim and Vigor. When I was a young girl, my elders would always say, oh my gosh, she's full of Vim and Vigor. And like the older generation like knows this word Vim, and it is an English word. It's spelt with one I, and it means enthusiasm, high-spirited, energy, vitality. And it was a word that was always in my world and kind of felt normal to me. And when I went to name my business, I wanted something that was, of course, on brand, and I wanted something that had purpose and meaning, but I wanted to play in the big game that the Venmos and the Wix and the Amazons and the Googles and the Pepsis of the world are in. And I was like, if Venmo can be Venmo, and what is that? I can be Vim. So that is me, and that is what it is and what we mean.
I love that. And like Vim and Vigor, like I never stopped to think about what that meant. I knew vigor, but not the Vim part. Like, but I knew that phrase as a, a younger person. That's a really neat way to bring it to life. Love
Thank
that.
you.
So
Thank you.
like you coming from a psychology background, what was the shift to go into being a badass female entrepreneur?
Well, when I was young, so I grew up with one parent that has cognitive disorders. And now I have two parents with cognitive disorders. A few years ago, my mom had a brain injury. And so now I have two parents who are pretty cognitively challenged. And so when I was a young girl growing up, I never knew my dad without his injuries. And so I was always fascinated with understanding people, understanding how his brain works. And I knew when it came time to going to a college, I was like, okay, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I don't know what I want to do, but I know I have to pick something that's going to capture my attention for 4 years. And what better way to keep me engaged than the idea of knowing my dad better and understanding his brain and how he functions. So it truly, really had a lot to do with my dad. I mean, like 100% to do with my dad. But then come full circle, branding and marketing and business and everything that we do in this world comes down to human connection. And so having that background and understanding, not just individuals with psychological disorders, but just us as humans and how every brain is a little different, comes to think and function, has served me so beautifully. So yeah, that's kind of that long story of why psychology.
Well said. Really well said. I have two things to say to that. I think that psych should be for all people who go to college, who take college classes. I think psych should be mandatory, that they have some psychology. in communications, especially like, so you and I could represent well because I'm the comms major, you're the psych major. Especially in today, like these kids coming up who think that they're communicating, but they're texting, and it is a form of communication, but that's not the art of being able to look someone in the eye and have a conversation. So
Yeah.
yeah, psych and comms, we need to keep going with that.
I 100% agree. Go into any fast food restaurant or any restaurant that employs our younger generation right now,
Mhm.
and it is clear as day that communication is not being taught. They're too much on their phone. This face-to-face interaction with the kids, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. It's just literally a lack of experience. So
Sure.
I 1,000% agree with you.
Yeah, it's kind of why like my kids hang up on me on the phone without saying goodbye because they don't know that part.
Yeah, that's funny.
Thank you for sharing that about your parents. That's awfully challenging, but super respectful that that's, was important to you to go and learn more, to be
Yeah.
supportive for your family, your dad at the
Yeah.
time. Let's talk a little bit more then. How did you get into branding from where you came from? What did that look like?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the earliest days when I started having a branding brain was before I ever even got into the workforce. I was, 10, 11, 12, and I had the blessing of having my parents encourage this entrepreneurial like spirit of mine. When I was 10, doing my lemonade stands or my car washes, I never did them janky. Like I would have the full-blown sign and it was
Oh,
like
no way.
promoted. Oh yeah, it was never just a pop-up like lemonade stand. It was the full meal deal. And then when I was 12, I got the Babysitters Club CD-ROM, totally aging myself here, but I got the CD-ROM as a gift for Christmas. And in that CD-ROM, it taught me about marketing yourself and creating a brand. I had my own business card. I had my own menu. I had a punch card that earned a free hour of babysitting when you get this many hours of babysitting. I had the flyer with the tear off sheets with my parents' phone number that I could hang out around town. And back then it wasn't dangerous to do that. And it's so sad. But I was totally that nerd who took it so seriously. And that was the foundation for me. I didn't realize it until probably a decade or so ago, how influential that was.
Mhm.
But when I started my first real girl job, I was blessed to have, I'll be honest, every single employer that I've ever had, I had the same experience with. But maybe my first one was the catalyst for me to have the confidence to even ask. But my first employer, I asked if I could make a menu, like a little newsletter. This was, I don't want to age myself, but this was long enough ago that we didn't have e-newsletters that were super popular. We didn't have social. So I asked if I could put this, menu that it was a hair salon, a menu that sat on the waiting table where people were flipping through
Uh-huh.
that talked about who we are and what our new makeup line was or what the trending hair styles were. And they were like, yeah, put it together. And from there, I got this marketing coordinator title, and it just
Uh,
really snowballed from employer to employer, and me deepening my skills around marketing and branding and graphics and photography. And
uh-huh.
that just snowballed into where we're at today with Viim, and really just putting all of those pieces together in branding, which is what we do now.
Mhm. I don't think when you said you were the nerd, I don't think that's nerdy at all. I mean, I see a movie in that, you know,
I love
like, like
that.
think of a young girl giving an hour free, like that's out of the box kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and
and
you weren't
the
making that much money.
yeah, no, it was so like everyone, or not everyone, but my age, like the Babysitters Club books, and they came
Mhm.
out with dolls and they started coming out with shows. Kids would just watch it because it was enjoyable. Um, I took it to that next level,
Yeah, you did.
and that's this weird innate thing. I don't know where that comes from. That's just me. But that taking things to the next level, that seeing things that doesn't exist and bringing them
Uh-huh.
to life,
Uh-huh.
like that's somewhere in me deep, and I can't stop it. So it's just followed me everywhere.
Creative genius. I love that.
Oh, thank you.
Do you have like a mind that just keeps going with thoughts?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's why literally, I'm biased, but I love my bio because it's so authentic to me. My husband will sometimes be like, "You're not paying attention. You're not present.
Uh,
You're not here." And my head will be in the clouds. I will see a radio or hear a radio ad. I'll see a billboard. I'll look at someone's shirt and my head just starts spinning with, what were they thinking? What are they trying to say to us? How could I do that differently? How could I apply that to this client?
uh,
It's kind of annoying, but it's a blessing and a curse at the same time.
would love to live in that space for a day. I
A
want to
day. Yeah, I was gonna say.
or maybe longer, but I'm not that creative. And so like I think that's really cool. When I see people who have these inspirational traits, I want to adopt them and I forget like, oh girl, stay in your lane, work the gifts that you have. But I want to take on a little bit of everything because to me that looks so amazing. I want to see, I want to try that
Yeah.
too. I just would
Well,
like to see what that's like to be so creative.
I think I always like to say this, and I know that I just think it's important to say. Whenever I hear someone say they're not creative, I like to share the story. And I'm
Mm,
not trying to push creativity on you, but I grew up with my younger brother, who is a true artist. He
okay.
does digital art to this day. He does some very popular video game art.
Uh,
When I was younger, he had a paintbrush, crayons, permanent markers, uh, construction paper, and he would literally create things out of thin air, tangible things. And for many years of my life, I looked to him as the creative one. And therefore, since he was the creative one, I just assumed, no one ever said I wasn't, but I just assumed, well, he's the creative one. I'm not creative.
uh-huh.
And it wasn't until I got my medium in my hands, my tools, the computer, Adobe Creative Suites, a camera, until I got that tool at my disposal, did my own creative side have a place to flourish. And so you, Heather, are incredibly creative. It's just in a different way. And I
Yeah,
just think we're all creative
it's with
beings and we
squat.
need to know that.
I get creative with my squat programming.
Yes, no, and that is true. Like,
Oh gosh.
how many people in fitness say, I don't mind working out, but I get bored. I get bored with the same this, that, or not, whatnot.
Yeah,
That's why you exist. That's what you bring to the table is creativity. It's just you have a different vehicle to get it into the world. And
I get that.
it's important to me to make sure that listeners who maybe think they're not creative hear that even someone who now owns a creative agency thought that for half of her life.
Ah, that's wise. Okay. So like being a small business and being a solopreneur who now has, like a very small group on her team, like how do you know when you're ready for branding? How do you know when you're ready to take it to the next level?
Yeah. There are two different types of people who dive into like the full branding experience that we offer. And those are usually businesses who are established 3 to 5 or more years. They
Okay.
have revenue coming in and they've never invested in a reputation that mirrors the incredible product or service that they put out.
Mm,
Maybe they had a cousin who whipped out a logo for them, or maybe they went online to a stock photo place and pieced together a logo, but that was pretty much all that they used to represent their selves as a brand.
mhm.
And then the other type of people we work with are startups who recognize how powerful rolling into the market is with a solid brand.
Okay.
And I can kind of dive in. I'm sure we'll get there on what a brand really is, because
Let's
we
talk about it.
probably have some
Cool.
assumptions.
Yeah, let's hear.
Okay. So, most people start off and they think a brand is just a logo. They might think, oh, it's a logo and some colors. And if they've been taught anything, or if they've read a couple blogs, they'll be like, oh, I also need to have like some fonts. Most people stop there. And you know what all of that is? That is the visual.
Mhm.
So that is part of your brand. I'm not saying that that's not important in your brand. The way you look to people, the logos, the branding elements, the designs, patterns, the photography and videography, colors, fonts, all of that is an aesthetic thing that's important for your brand. That's the visuals. And it is 1,000% important, because as humans, you know what we do? We eat with our eyes. We judge books by their cover. We're literally told not to, and we still do it.
Yeah.
And we make micro immediate judgments. Actually, we don't even do this. Our brain makes micro immediate judgments on people and businesses within milliseconds of encountering them. And that is when we make decisions on whether or not we want to dive deeper into that food, into that book, into that brand.
Yeah.
And that's when the second piece comes into play. And that's the intentional. So we've got our visual, and then we have our intentional. And the intentional piece is that heart of the matter. The first thing I do with all of the clients and brands that we have the pleasure of working with is I explain to them that our full day discovery is about getting everything out of here. And if you're not watching, we've got out of your head, out of your heart, and out of your gut. Because how many of us as entrepreneurs are woken up in the middle of the night with these thoughts spinning, have these dreams on our heart, and literally have this like huge idea sitting in our gut and that we never let out. That intentional piece is what we bring out of people, and we use that intentionality to influence our visuals. So we do that in messaging, personality, recognizing who we want to attract and who we want to repel, and how do we do that with language. So branding is so much more than what we see, but we influence what we see with what we feel and how we want others to feel.
Sure. Yes. You know, when you were talking about your discovery day, like it's legit a day, right?
Oh yeah. Yes. It's an 8-hour day.
Yeah. Just give us like a snippet, like what the heck is that like? It's got to be intense, right?
It is. And it's funny because my background's psychology. So I've had so many people say you should have become a psychologist. I knew I never wanted to do that. But these sessions, these intensive actually really feel therapeutic. I've had people say that was very therapeutic and that was transformative. And so what it looks like if we're virtual, it's a little, tiresome, because who wants to sit on screen all day? But we have fun. We get some brain breaks, we get some food breaks in there, because that's super important. But when we're in person, I definitely bring in a lot more movement, because I think I know our brains function differently with different exercises and movement and sitting and standing and how we go through it. But we walk through several different exercises. And the very first exercise, so if you're listening to this and you want to kind of piece together what this day could look like by yourself without me, the very first exercise takes almost half the time, about half, if not like 90% of the time. Exercise 1 takes up about 4 hours. And that is going through Simon Sinek's Golden Circle. If you're not familiar with it, do yourself a favor, go watch the 18-minute TED Talk. If you are an entrepreneur, this is the foundation for understanding where you need to go with branding. Watch the 18-minute TED Talk. The Golden Circle is 3 circles, 1 large, 1 medium, 1 in the center, right? So think of a target. And the biggest circle, which is where we start, is understanding what it is we do. And I know that sounds really silly, because it's like, well, of course a shoe store knows they sell shoes. Of course Heather knows she does fitness. But if we can't truly break down what it is we do and create clarity around how we deliver the answer of what we do, our consumers and people who are absorbing our brand are going to be confused. And confused people don't buy. So we start with what it is that you do. What do you offer? What is that? And then we dive in a little deeper and we talk about, well, how do you do it? How do you, Heather, do it differently than anyone else? Doesn't have to be the only person who does it that way, but how can people start to understand what it is that Heather is offering and how I can expect it to feel? How can I expect her to show up? How can I expect I need to show up? How can I expect that I can trust her? How is it that she does what she does and really paint that picture?
Mm-hmm.
And then the deepest and hardest part of the golden circle is your why.
Mm-hmm.
Why, when you could be doing anything in this world, are you doing what you're doing? And we really start with no agenda of what that exercise is being used for. It's all about being messy. I explain to my clients that when you're going through this exercise, it is about being messy. You do not try to tell me your why in this beautiful, eloquent sentence. No, tell me in a messy way. That's my job. I want you to have the freedom getting stuff out of your head, heart, and gut. That's not
Yeah.
going to be clean and pretty. That's going to be word vomits and
Yeah.
mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how much more freeing does that feel to finally get all that out and not have the pressure of needing it to sound eloquent or perfect? That's what I want people to know and expect. And that's what we do during that day. And like I said, that's just exercise number one, but
I
it's a
can't
good
even
one.
imagine, like, yeah, how cathartic that's got to be. And for people, like, whether it's in person or virtually, to walk away from that and just like process that.
Yeah.
That's really super cool stuff. I like that a
Thank
lot.
you.
Yeah.
Several clients will say, I need a nap. Like I've had about half of my clients afterwards text me and say, wow, I need a nap.
Yeah. Oh, I totally get it. Your brain is
Yeah.
working hard. That's a
Yes.
lot of energy. Wow,
Yes. Yes.
that is so amazing. I don't know that many businesses take that much time to
No.
get to know your why.
No, they don't. Literally everyone I've worked with, who have worked with previous agencies, they've all said the same thing. Wow, no one's ever asked me these questions.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm not saying you can't get it done without it, but if you want an intentional, authentic brand that's led with purpose and that is different and that helps people understand why you versus anyone else versus your competitors, this is the work you need to do.
Yep.
It's freeing. It is authentic. It gives you the permission slip to be yourself in a world where we look at everyone else doing something and we get imposter syndrome. We get nervous about doing things wrong or what if this will work? That eliminates all of that.
Sure.
It's so freeing.
Yeah. I do something a little similar in my badass reset method, but to me, like what I see that as, and it is literally called the 5 whys. It doesn't take 4 hours, but I do expect them to work on it for a few days. But it's an anchor. Once you
Mm-hmm.
get to that deepest level of like the cell, right? It's an
Yeah.
anchor to hold on to for all of the highs and lows that are to come. Because
Mm-hmm.
every journey that you set off on is going to be, up and down, peaks and
Mm-hmm.
valleys. But to have that anchor, to have that vision of like for me, most women come in and say, well, I want to lose weight. Well, why?
Right.
And it's really more of like on a superficial level. We don't get to the why
Mm-hmm.
immediately. So
Mm-hmm.
I can relate to that very much and I love it. And I am going to put that into the show notes as well so that people can go back and all the entrepreneurs listening can go back and have a listen to that. That is I think it's exceptional. So,
Thank you.
there's like a sparkle to you and I get it. Like you really do have deep passion for this.
Oh, thank you. I truly do. It's this beautiful uh culmination of important aspects of myself, even down to having parents with cognitive disorders and having to be a young daughter all her life and understanding that. That mixed with just my career in this marketing world and realizing that marketing is more than making things beautiful. It's about making things evoke emotion and evoke a behavior. Having all that come together and I get to do this for numerous clients, not just being employed by one, it's been a huge blessing.
I get it. I love it.
Yes.
So I definitely I want people to go check out I will, of course, put all your information in there. I want them to check you out because I want them to be able to see what, if you're not watching the video, I want you to be able to see Steph, and I want you to be able to see her work because it is, it does stand out. And I appreciate that because I feel like we have so much coming at us, as an entrepreneur, like your DMs are full of a lot of garbage, a lot. And, no disrespect to those people. They're all trying to do their jobs too, but it's schwarmy and it's not a real connection. And I just don't know. I don't know how they get traction on their businesses by doing that, but it is refreshing to see somebody who puts out such good work.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. And I know you don't hit up people with schwarmy cold DMs.
I don't have time for schwarmy work.
Yeah,
I
no.
don't like it when it's done to me.
Yeah.
And I know that people can, this is the thing, when I talked about the visual and the intentional, our brain's actually broken up into different pieces of, different hemispheres. And one part of our brain can really understand facts and figures. And, we can look at the models and all their performance factors and all that. And that part of the brain is separate from the emotional part of the brain on how it feels, how it makes us happy or sad or comfortable or trustworthy. And the really fascinating thing is the part of the brain that actually makes decisions on whether or not you go right or left, buy the thing, don't buy the thing, doesn't understand language. It has no language. It's all about feel, which is why and if you listen to the TED Talk, I'll be mirroring Simon, but that part of the brain, when we don't know why something doesn't feel right, all we can really say is like, well, I don't know, it doesn't feel right, So you can tell people all day long how you can make them $1 million, you can make them lose weight, you do all these factual things. But if you aren't tapping into their emotions, if they don't trust you, if it doesn't feel good, that decision part is going to struggle to even care about those facts and figures.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
It gets deep.
Really deep. Okay, so when you and I first connected, you have a fantastic podcast as well. Would you like to share that with everybody so they can check that out?
Yes, I would love to. The Passion on Purpose podcast. We feature leaders on center stage and experts on center stage, and sometimes my ramblings as well. But it's all geared around passion and purpose. So entrepreneurs, personal brands who are doing great things in the world with passion and intention, I want to highlight that. I do highlight that. I give the stage to people to motivate our listeners to think, wow, well, if they can do it differently and if they can do it with that, how can I do that too? And then our experts come on in the fashion to truly give value, have you walk away with tangible, action-oriented tips. So there's kind of a lot going on in the show, but you can find it with Passion on Purpose, Leaders on Center Stage.
That'll be in the show notes too. But when we connected about your podcast, you you spoke my language right away when you're like, hey, I started lifting. I love lifting. And I was like, oh, awesome. This is like my ears just perked up. I got all excited. When women take that on, I am like on cloud 9. So then I was asking Steph, tell me about what you love about fitness, or tell me what it means to you. And she gave me such a good response. She told me that she was selfish about it. And I want you to talk about the analogy that you gave me.
Yeah.
And explain what you mean, and then dive into that.
Yeah. Early on in my entrepreneurial journey, before I was even lifting, before I started down this fitness journey, I was posed the question of, what is your why? Like, why do you do this? And it was real and raw. And I said, because I want to be selfish. And that's still true today. I am a very selfless person. I'm constantly putting others before myself. I will self-sacrifice sleep, and I will do all the bad things we're taught not to do. And even though I say my why is to be selfish, it's because I'm not. And I needed I wanted to do this because I know that when I am selfish and I am honoring myself and I'm doing the things that make me healthy and great, I have a lot to give to the world. And I we are not taught to do that. We're actually told the word selfish is bad. I mean, it's a negative word. And so when fitness came around after about 3 years of starting my business, Viim, because it was last January, we're going to be celebrating 5 years in like a week. Yep, I'm so excited. Last January 2022, I started lifting, and I immediately realized that I need to keep this up because I can't wake up early if I go to bed at 2 a.m. because I'm working midnight oil, burning the midnight oil, and working on my client stuff. I realized that I need to start eating healthier and I need to start prioritizing what I put in my body because I can't show up at the gym and perform well or even like feel good. Like even just putting on those skinny like leggings. Oh God, when you're all bloated, like that never feels good. And so fitness has become this constant reminder that I'm doing this to prioritize all of the other selfish things that make me truly be healthy in me.
Boom.
I know it kind of sounds backwards.
That's a boom. That's a different take. But you know, it's kind of like you worked that backwards also. Like,
yeah.
I think that you're still so young to figure that out. And you know, we've talked about this before, but like as you get older and as you start to have hormonal changes and whatnot, you're going to be so thankful that you started this younger.
Mm-hmm. I think I mean I absolutely agree, and I hope I keep it up. I hope that I mean I have a lot of things in my vision that I know will help keep it up. But I will say, like, just this last weekend, I spent a few days with my mom, and she, especially since her brain injury, she has had a lot of physical and cognitive decline. And I do really look to her and I think, wow, not just the aesthetic thing of like how we look, right? It's such a, what's the word I want? But
Right?
it's such a, you know, vain thing to look at, but it is the easy thing, right? We talk about how important visuals are and we do that immediately. But then I have my mom, you know, trying to get out of the car.
Yeah.
And she just looks to me and she says, why am I so weak? Why am I so frail? You know, and so to see that in someone that you have always looked up to and to love, it's also just this deeper reminder of I get this one body, I get this one brain, get this one set of lungs and hearts and all these things that have to function together. I better take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's probably also you getting that reminder of helping your parents that you need to step up and you need to be good to go to take care of
Yeah.
them and that you're going to want to be in good shape. But I think what happens is, you know, once you find the feeling of doing it consistently, then it becomes just part of that confidence and something that you crave.
Yeah.
Like you learn to, there are days for sure. There's days where you're like, yeah, I could do without go. But then you know that as soon as you get that dopamine hit and as soon as your blood starts pumping and you know for sure by the time you're done, you're going to be so
Yes.
thankful. And then you just feel better. And like I can't imagine doing a you know, running a business that you run and not having the strength and the energy and all of that that comes with, you know, your fitness and
Yeah.
your nutrition. We kind of lump all that into fitness, but it's a big deal. And I'm proud of you for doing it. I know you work with a trainer, and is your trainer a nice trainer or a strict trainer?
She is a very flexible trainer. When I
Ah,
first she is great because I think she really is a chameleon and I think she mirrors what her clients need. Very early on, she asked me like what's my style and what do I need? What am I hoping for? And I told her I won't do well if you boot camp me. I
Mhm.
was never meant for the military. Like, it's not happening. If you are screaming at me, I don't get motivated in that way.
Yeah.
And I also shared with her, and I'll touch on it quickly, but I started, on top of so many other reasons, I was struggling with lower back pain.
Mm.
And so I told her, I said, these are my goals. I want to show up twice a week for at least this year. And I don't care if I lose a single ounce of weight. I don't care if I gain weight. I don't care about PRs. I don't care about what I look like. I just want to show up twice a week with you. And my goal is I don't want to feel like my lower back hurts all the time. I don't want to sit, stand, and lay down and be in pain all of the time. And within 2 months, and
Mhm.
I'm like, I almost want to knock on wood, but it's been so long now because now we're on like 18 months. But after 2 months, my lower back pain decreased. And then after like 3 or 4 months, it's gone, and it's still gone.
Good.
Like, it's just been life changing. So she's really great at honoring what and I'm also really good at voicing what I want. I've been told all my life I'm picky. I'm starting to realize, you know what? No, I just know what I want, and I'm going to voice it. So she's amazing. She's flexible. She's motivating. She's just a sweet, kind, caring, strong person. I love her.
Fantastic. There was something that I learned years and years ago, and it was how people respond. So we bring the psych into this, right? But how people respond to cueing. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was basically put someone in a plank, and you had 4 different ways to coach them through that plank. And they had to hold that plank for a minute. So the poor person's holding, essentially a 4-minute plank. But one of them was the boot camp,
Mm-hmm.
was empathetic. Like, you go through this list, but it really is a good coach that will honor who they're working with and what they respond to and how to best fill them up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
a really
I
good
always think
test
about
too.
that. I always think about that planking when I'm working with people, to meet them where their needs are. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes their needs are like, they need to take it easy. They need to chill. Like, they are in a heightened state, and exercise is only going to make it worse. And some people really do like that, like, punish me. I'm not the punisher. That was
Yeah.
maybe years and years ago, not as, a 51-year-old trainer who cares more about longevity.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, sounds like you've got a good one. Okay, I know that your time is precious and I want to scoot you out, but
I'm
I
good.
I am really excited because I bought a ticket for a 1-day live speaking event in January, and Steph's going to be speaking. It is the Pacific Northwest Women's Network, and the day is called Live, the speaking event. And I want to invite, like, anybody who might be local to the Pacific Northwest. So, like, if you're Oregon, Washington,
Mm-hmm.
Idaho, this
Yep.
is going to be a day full of some really incredible speakers. But Steph, will you tell us a little bit more about what you're going to talk about? And then I know that you have something super cool you want to share too.
Yes, I am so honored to be one of the 4 speakers. We have 4 speakers, and we have 2 hype women who are going to be joining us, presenting to a jam-packed room. The event was sold out last year. We're doubling capacity from last year. The founder of the Pacific Northwest Women's Network, Mandy, she's the most beautiful soul, and she curates women who are badasses, motivated, entrepreneurial spirited women. And she created, and I'd be slightly biased, but she curated this beautiful lineup of speakers, and I'm just honored to be on the stage with everyone. And I will, of course, be talking about branding. We will be talking about introspective branding, so looking within and really pulling that out. So I'll be talking about that. We have the speakers are listed. So if you go onto the website, which I'm sure you can help me put that in the show notes too,
Sure will.
their topics are listed, but it's a full day. And not only the speakers are going to be dynamic and amazing, but think about being in the room with that type of vim and vigor. Like, think about being in the room with that spirit and that enthusiasm and the rallying cry of sisterhood. And I know that's such a like trending word or whatever, but just being in that room, I know alone is going to be motivational. And so I wanted to make sure that at for sure that people in my community get a chance to come. So I am actually going to be gifting one VIP ticket.
This is huge.
Plus
That's huge.
it's the ticket alone is $350 value. Plus, I'm going to be creating a self-discovery. I have a self-discovery experience for the winner of this as well. That's a little different than what we ever offer. And it's just more time with me, more time with yourself and diving deep. And kind of the catalyst of that is coming to that live event. So yes, I'm really excited and honored to be there. And I can't wait to find out who wins and gets to join.
For sure. Yes. It's January 27th, 2024. Sounds weird to be saying that already, but it'll be here before we know it. And do look for the links. I'm going to provide every place that we can find you. And I'm just really excited for my audience, who is just a diverse group. So I've got, the entrepreneur women, and I've got fitness junkies, and I've got people who are going through hormonal changes that just need help. Like, it's all over the board, but
Yes.
people will love to learn more about you. So thank you so much for your time today and for sharing all those things. You'll find a million references in the show notes to go look for, and make sure to check Steph out. And Steph, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks
We'll
for
see you
having me.
next time on the Badass Reset Club. Okay, I think if I hit end meeting for all,
It'll stop the recording.
I'll stop the it'll stop us. I think
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
So I'm going to go back in and crop it to the end there. I really appreciate you doing this today.
Thank you for having me. I know I'm long-winded. I should always warn people. I'm long-winded.
I don't notice that at all. I mean, you're talking.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. But we chatted a little bit beforehand, and I was like, oh gosh, I hope she doesn't have somewhere she needs to be right now. I really appreciate this. And I think it's really cool to get different perspectives from different people. I mean, similar to your podcast, you've got people from all different businesses, but anything that has to do with women's, interests, women's health, all of it, I'm here for, and I like to share everybody. So I think that's awesome that you came.
I love that you tap into the why too, because I think I've got a very clear understanding of the business side of some of that stuff. But I'll be honest, I could use some deeper tapping into my own why on this fitness. I know selfish is there, but what does selfish look like? That's that deeper piece that we can say it all day long. And there's some obvious ones: eat well, sleep, go to bed at a decent time. But again, diving deeper into what does the selfish stuff look like outside of this room, outside of the gym, So I love that you go there.
Yeah. I hired a business coach and back in May, and her background is she's got her master's in psychology, and she did a course, and this is how I found her. She did a course called NeuroSlim, and it's the cognitive behavior therapy of fitness. And it's all about, your brain and all of that with fitness. And so I took that and I was like, this is the missing piece for why people get so gung-ho and then ditch it.
And then give up. Yeah.
Over and over. And so the very beginning of this new method that I'm teaching, that I'm coaching, is like 2 weeks of straight psych and mindset, and it's a lot of digging deep in Google Sheets and us meeting about it. And so to me, like,
they said Google Sheets.
Google Sheets.
Yeah, everyone knows now what that means. Diving deep. Is that the okay, sorry, two things.
Her name is
Slim.
Yes.
Is that Jill Bunny?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Jill Bunny. Okay, so that came up, and then I'm on your site, and where's that?
Where's
that program that you're starting that with?
The Badass Reset Method.
Oh, that's the Badass Reset Method.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you do that on cycles, or is anyone can join anytime because it's pre-recorded, or how does it?
I just launched it. So I took my own coaching and upped it. Like my own coaching of fitness and nutrition. And I just was like, there needs to be more, because I felt like there was things missing, and I needed, I also wanted an open and close date. because I have been with people for 2 years online that I'm like, okay, so, now what direction would you like to go in? It's just like, I would like a window to help people to get on a program, teach them how to lift, and then maybe have a back end offer that they can, just do some workouts or, when it's all done. But I've built this course now, and it is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but it's hormones, and it's your stress, and it's the mindset, and then it's the fitness and nutrition.
And so, okay. Okay. I'm just trying to see. My
So the
brain is
podcast is the Badass
right.
Reset Club.
Right. And so if I hit the online training and I hit the get started, then I see the get reset method or the badass reset method. And that's how you would tap into you to get into that program.
Yes. And I
Sure.
did just launch it as like we're launching September 5th, but I will take people in. I
Oh,
won't
so is it not
I
on
won't
your
just do it
website right
for
now? Because
um
you've already surpassed the.
yeah.
I see. Okay. Okay. I was gonna say, because I'm not seeing that on here. Um, that's just where, because I'll be honest, on my after you and I had, it must have either been when I first reached out to you and I was all geeked out about you, or it was after your podcast interview. It was one of those moments. I was sitting with my mother-in-law and who I'm having dinner with tonight. And it's so funny. I'm like, right after that, I was sitting with her. Then right after tonight, I'm gonna be sitting with her. But she struggled with her weight. She's had weight loss surgery. She's, done the whole thing all her life. And then you're here and, she's, 65. So she's definitely in the higher age range of your range. But I told her about you and I was like, we should do it together. We should find out about how we can work with her. She's local. She has online stuff. I was like, we could do it together. I could use it. So anyway, I missed the boat then. September 5th was when you started this kind of,
But
when are
yeah,
you doing it again?
so I mean, like, this is the thing. I have spent the last couple of years as I integrated from just one-on-one to trying to do more online. So
Right.
right now I only coach people in person 2 days a week so I can devote the rest of my time.
Yes.
I have found that when I work with people just one-on-one with nutrition at that lower price point, or one-on-one just fitness, they are just as needing as much attention and
That's one-on-ones.
time as the bigger package. And I felt like there wasn't this, like, where I could, the boundaries weren't clear. And
Mhm.
and then I also felt like that was a disservice to people who needed more help, right? So
Mhm.
I wrestled with this for a long time, and I really felt like I think that the people that I want to help are the people who need everything, because it
Yeah.
is everything. So,
Mhm.
like, yeah, the people who are just doing, I have 20 women who are just doing fitness right now by themselves, and I have 5 that are just doing nutrition by themselves. Those nutrition people don't know what to do to shift their body composition. They don't understand about how to go lift weights. They'll go do something, but it's not in a plan or a program, or, progress.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
people who are just doing fitness don't know how to feed themselves.
Yep. Yep. I'm there right now.
And so, like, that's where I'm just kind of like, oh, so I needed to, like, shift it to have a program where I can give them everything that they need and then coach them through that. And
Yeah.
they're getting everything, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I will say the one thing that I would mama bear you on, because my brain doesn't stop. So take the 2 cents, do what you want with it, is I would work on clarity on your service offerings.
Yep.
I know you're still getting clarity yourself, but
Yep.
that would be a huge win for you, is to, even when you aren't accepting people and not enrolling people because you're mid, have that on there and put join the wait list or something on that button.
Yeah.
That's something that would be super helpful. And then on your homepage, sorry, branding audit happening live, didn't mean to going through it. You this badass brand of yours, the badass reset, who you are. I get that from the name, and I get that from your podcast, and I get that when I scroll down, but that above the fold, that the live life well, how can we say that more badass?
Mm, that was
How
just
can
Yeah, that was just a Kajabi already built thing. Like I didn't even change that. So that needs to be.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, and that woman is inspiring. Don't get me wrong. And it's beautiful. It's Pacific Northwest. Like, I love that. I love the movement, but it doesn't scream Heather to me. It doesn't scream badass to me.
You're
And
right.
like, that's your brand and own it. Like, so anyway,
I
that's just,
appreciate that, Steph. Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you. You
Yeah.
don't need to give me free advice, but I appreciate that.
Yeah. It's meant
So,
with love, not
so
with
I'll
pickiness.
turn it around. How you can get started with nutrition to match your fitness?
Yeah.
Like I would for sure make sure that you're getting enough protein. Do you know how much you're getting?
No, I'm not tracking anything. It's bad. If you were to have a fly on the wall in this room where I eat the most, you will be so disappointed.
It's not, and that's like the first thing that I teach is it's not good or bad. It just is. And really it's like it's either going to get you to your goal and feeling good or it's not.
Yeah.
And some food should be pleasurable. There's that. So I would make sure that you're getting enough protein, and how you'll know is um if you're at your ideal body composition and body weight, then you want to be getting like 0.7 grams to 1 gram per body weight pound. If you're not
Oh,
at your ideal body weight, then you go for that ideal.
so if you're 100 pounds, you'd want 70 grams of protein,
70 to 100. Yeah.
70 to 100.
Uh, so
Okay.
zero point
Okay.
0.7 to 1. So somewhere
Oh,
in
okay. Somewhere in that range.
there.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. The more protein that you can get, the more you'll help build lean muscle. So, your trainer's got you doing all your weights and stuff. You'll get more results by getting more amino acids into your body. And
Yeah,
then
I
how you
definitely
figure
need to
out
do
where
that.
the rest falls, like when I'm working with women, we do track for a little while because they've got to know, they've got to recognize like, oh, that's too many calories for my body and my energetic needs. Not enough. Like they've got to have a
Right.
range. So I figure it out by how active you are throughout the day. So if you have one killer workout and then you're sitting for a lot, you're probably a little more on the sedentary. Like that one
Yeah.
workout's awesome, but that doesn't carry through your day.
Yep.
So we multiply weight by a number. So if you were going to track, I would take weight. If you're fairly active, multiply that by 11 or 12. If you're not super active, multiply that by 10. And that's going to put you into you know, a little bit of a deficit where you'll start to see a shift. If that's like what you're wanting, if you want fat loss, if you want more muscle definition, then you go above the calories. I've got a little free guide you can print out that has all that in there. But
Yeah.
it's not hard to do. It's hard to get the mindset of this isn't restriction. This is about just knowing how much my body needs
Yeah.
and how
I'm
and
pretty,
how I feel optimal when I eat.
and I think I would be pretty good with the right guidance because I'm the heaviest I've literally ever been. And now, do I want to slim down and tone up? Yes, I do. But at the same time, not at the sacrifice of like my health, my happiness.
Yeah.
So I think I'm in a good mental place, is I guess what I want to say. Because even though I'm the heaviest I've ever been, I feel pretty dang good about the
Good.
progress I've made, and I'm like proud of my chubby little body right now because it actually shows
You are
muscles, even though
so
it's
beautiful. I think if I were you, I would try to hit the protein number and figure out your calorie goal. So like if you're sitting a lot during the day, multiply your weight by 10 and whatever
okay.
that comes out to be will be your calorie goal. And then try
Oh,
to just
okay.
hit the protein as close as you can and stay within those calories and you're going to be fine. You don't need to screw around with all the rest because you're not trying to get on stage in a bikini. But I would
100%.
also I would also caution you to go slowly on that because if women aren't getting that much protein, their bodies will often like be like, hold up, some digestive issues going on. So do it slowly. I start them out trying to get around 100 grams of protein for 3 or 4 days, see how your belly feels. If it
Yeah,
feels good, then bump it up slowly.
I just did the math, and based on what you shared, calorie goal should be about 1700 because I'm 170.
Okay.
And protein should be between 119 and 170 grams.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. How tall are you?
5'6".
Okay. Yep. And then
Yep.
what you do is like you don't have to do anything else for a couple of weeks except just try to get that protein up and stay within that umbrella and see what changes for you.
I know I'm stealing your brain, but I want to steal. I want to ask this. So I'm going to not be working out the rest of the year pretty much. I mean, I might start doing some light stuff, but because of the scar, I want to try. I don't want to do too much. Like this is a spot where doing anything, even walk. Yes.
Okay.
But so my plan was for October, November, December, from Wednesday on, get the diet down. Start focusing on diet. Should I, even though I'm not working out, still hit these numbers? No.
Nope.
So don't go for those numbers.
You can drop it a little more. Yeah.
Drop the protein a little more.
You can drop the overall number.
Oh, okay.
And I know you probably don't want to hear that, but if you're not giving as much energy, during the day,
yeah,
then you don't need as much.
Calories wise.
Yeah.
So like reduce.
Oh, I would go to more like 1650, 1600. It's not a ton.
No, not a ton.
But you need to monitor how that feels. So like with my people, I'm constantly checking in on their sleep, their libido, their energy levels, their like everything that tells the story of how your body's functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So monitor how you feel. And if you've got questions, just ask me. I'll shoot you my phone number so you can text me if you've got questions about anything. Okay.
I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep me in mind when you start your next cycle. Keep me in mind of my mother-in-law. And if you think of something that would be good for us as a trio to do, because I don't know exactly what it would look like and if we would pull the trigger because of finances and time and stuff. But if you think of something, like, pitch it to me, because I'd love to hear it and see if it's something we can do, because we are really interested in something.
Okay. All right. I will. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Steph, when is the podcast we did gonna be?
Yeah, it's supposed to be this Thursday. However, I don't know what happened. I got to see what my podcast manager said.
Okay.
Thursdays for some reason didn't release. So I don't know if we're going to push everything back to keep on schedule or if we're going to double up. But technically, according to this, you are the 21st, which is Thursday. Yeah. So you're supposed to be released Thursday. So let me find out what we're doing and get you your media kit so you can start promoting it.
That's
but I think we might.
Honey. I will promote it, but don't rush it. You've got a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay. I'll be thinking of you, and you're going to do great. And if I think of a podcast, I'll send it your way too.
Okay. I appreciate you so much. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.